Hey, so let's finish up section 2.2. All right, so this is actually probably some of my favorite pieces, honestly. Many of you have seen this. If you're struggling with it, please reach out to me. Let me help you. I want to make sure you're comfortable with this. Okay, so slope of a line M represents the change in Y over the change in X. And given 2 points where they have an independent and a dependent value, X's and Y's, this just means that there's a point labeled 1 that has an X value of 1 and Y value of 1, and there's a point labeled 2 that has an X value of 2 and a Y value of 2 for the 2. And then we're going to use this formula right here, given those 2 points. So let me show you how this looks in an example. Find the slope of a line that passes through the points 2, -1, and -5, 3. And I'm just going to use this M is equal to Y sub 2 minus Y sub 1 over X sub 2 minus X sub 1. Move this. I'm going to also label my points just so that I'm consistent and don't get mixed up, because a lot of people, they'll start off with their Y sub 2 in one section, and then they'll forget which one it was, and they'll go to the other one as X sub 2, and that just doesn't work. So X1, Y1, X2, Y2, again, it doesn't matter which one is which. Just make sure that you've got the X1, Y1s together and your X2, Y2s together. So Y sub 2 is 3 minus Y sub 1 is -1 over X sub 2 is -5 minus X sub 1 is 2. So that gives us 3 plus 1 is 4. -5 minus 2 is -7. So M is equal to -4/7. And yes, you could put that in decimal format, but there's no reason to. All right, moving on. Identify the slope and y-intercept given the equation. So what you need to understand is slope-intercept form is this version, mx plus b, to where m is your slope or your rate of change. That's important to know, because otherwise it's hard to work word problems if you don't understand that they mean the same thing. And B is your y-intercept or your initial value or your starting value. Okay. All right, so let's see what these are. So we need to say what our slope is and what our y-intercept is. The slope is just the coefficient of x. It's the number in front of x. So it's the -3/4. And then the y-intercept is just your b. So it's -4. Boom, that's done. All right, point slope formula is another formula you need to have access to. And that's y minus y sub 1 is equal to mx minus x sub 1. All right, and it says write the equation of a line with slope m equals -3 and passes through the point 4, 8. So you have to have a point that is x1, y1, and you have to have m in order to plug into this. Okay, so that's what they're giving us. And I'm going to go ahead and label this x1, y1. All right, so y minus y sub 1, which is 8, equals the slope, -3, times x minus x sub 1, which is 4. Okay, I'm going to solve everything for y. Y equals. I'm going to start by distributing my -3 across my binomial. And y minus 8 is equal to -3x plus 12. Add 8 to both sides. And I get that y is equal to -3x plus 20. And that is my equation of the line. Okay. Find the equation of the line passing through 2 given points. So they're not telling us what the slope is, but we have an equation to find it. And then we're going to have to use that equation, that m that we find, along with either one of these points, it doesn't matter which one, to fill in our line. Okay. I'm sorry. Good Lord, my mind's just gone. Our slope-intercept, basically, is the way I look at it. To finally get it in that section. There we go, slope-intercept form. So I'm going to start with m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. I'm going to label them x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. All right, y sub 2 is -3 minus y sub 1 is 4 over x sub 2 is 0 minus 3. All right, so that's -7 over -3, which is just 7/3. I'm just going to leave it in that format. All right, right in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to need y minus y sub 1 is equal to m x minus x sub 1 in order to do this. And I can use either one of the 2 points that are given. What was great was Emily during class, it was really nice that she noticed right off the smack dab that this is the y-intercept, because we had talked earlier that what does the y-intercept look like? And it's where the x value is 0 and you have a y value. That is the y-intercept. So one, I'm going to show you how to use it if you're just given that, but this is such a rare moment to be given this. I want to go through and show you how to do it without that, so that you have the harder way that you're going to probably end up having to do it in your homework as well as on the exam. Sorry, I don't have any water right now on me. So I'm going to show you the y-intercept version first, but please don't accept that as something that always happens, because it's a very rare event. And we want it into y equals mx plus b, where y is equal to, well, we just found m is 7/3 x, and then b is -3. So that is going to be our answer. Now, I'm going to work through that with the other point, because this is more likely what you're going to be dealing with for the majority. Yeah, 97% of your points. So I'm going to use x1, y1 as 3, 4. Y minus 4 equals, our slope is 7/3. And then x minus 3. I'm using this point right here, 3, 4. All right, now I told you before, let's just multiply all the terms through by the denominator and just get rid of this first. So I'm going to multiply the 3 times the y, 3 times the 4, and then 3 times this term here. All right, 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 4 is 12, so minus 12 is equal to, the 3 is gone, and I'm left with 7x minus 3. Distribute your 7 over your binomial, and you get 3y minus 12 is equal to 7x minus 21. All right. So last thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for y. So I'm going to start by getting rid of this -12 by bringing it over. And I get 3y is equal to 7x minus, why am I forgetting this? Hold on a second. I'm just not even thinking what 21 and 12. I keep saying 9, but I just wasn't seeing it. Minus 9. And then we're going to divide all terms by 3. So I get y equals 7/3 x minus 3 from here. So it turned out great. Okay, if you have any questions on that, please ensure you're writing this stuff down so that we can go over it. Okay. So we've been working with the slope-intercept version of a line. Now we're going to talk about standard form of a line. All right. And this is where you have it as the coefficient of x with x and the coefficient of y. So ax plus by equals c. We want all of our variables on one side and our constant on the other. A, B, and C are integers. X and Y terms are on one side of the equal sign, and the constant term is on the other, which is what I just said. So let's take what we just got here. Y equals 7/3 x minus 3. I'm gonna go get some water. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, so we're gonna take the previous question and rephrase it in standard form. I'm going to do the same thing with the 3 that we did earlier as far as multiplying it to each term just to get rid of it. So I'm going to go 3 times y equals 3 times 7/3 x minus 3 times 3. All right, so I get 3y is equal to, well, these cross out, we get 7x minus 9. And then the last bit is I need to take the 7x to the other side. So minus 7x minus 7x, negative 7x plus 3y is equal to negative 9. Some people might go through and want to have their a as positive. It honestly doesn't matter, but we've got it in the right form. Ax plus by equals c. And that is standard form. All right. Finding the equation of a line and writing it in standard form. All right, let's do one of these. They're giving us our slope. They're giving us a point. So all we need is the point slope formula, which is the words I was looking for earlier. So the point slope formula is y minus y sub 1 equals m x minus x sub 1. I'm going to use the point they give us as x1, y1. We've got our slope right here of negative 6. So y minus negative 2 is equal to, the m is negative 6, x minus 1/4. All right, first thing I'm going to do is start combining some things. So I've got y minus a negative 2 is y plus 2 is equal to, now I can go ahead and distribute that 6 across here. There's so many ways to do math. There's at least 2 ways to do every math problem. So if you do it differently than me, it's completely okay. And I may do it differently here than I do it in class. I'm just not going to remember. So negative 6 times x is negative 6x. And then negative 6 times negative 1/4 is positive 6/4. Okay, so now we can go through and get rid of that 4 as a denominator by multiplying 4 times y, 4 times 2, 4 times negative 6, and then 4 times 6/4. So we get 4y plus 8 equals negative 24x plus 6. So the only thing I have left to do is put this in ax plus by equals c form because they want standard form in their answer. So adding 24x to both sides, I get 24x. I'm going to come up here, y'all. 24x plus 4y plus 8 is equal to 6. And I need to get rid of this 8 and move my constants to the same side. And I get 24x plus 4y is equal to negative 2. There's our standard form. Alrighty, let's move to number 13. What is it saying? Finding the equation of, I did not do this one in class. Find the equation of a line passing through the given points. Okay, so this one we have 2 points. So if you're given 2 points and they're asking for a line, you're going to have to find the slope first and then put it in the point slope formula. Okay, so we're going to start by finding the slope, and that's y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Start plugging and chugging. Y sub 2 is 4 minus negative 3 over 1 minus 1. Oh, I should have done this one in class. Might have to go back and do that. All right, so that's 4 plus 3 is 7 over 1 minus 1 is 0. That is an undefined. And can't see this. That is an undefined slope. Well, what does an undefined slope look like? What does an undefined slope look like? And this is going to give us a great opportunity to talk about that. So here's my x and my y. If I plot where these 2 points are, it's going to show me where my line is. But I already know where my line is because I know I have an undefined slope. And the only time you have an undefined slope is when you have a vertical line. Okay, so this answer is going to be x equals 1 for the actual line itself, because they're asking for the equation of the line, it's going to have to be x equals 1. Because so we have a point at 1, -3. We have a point at 1, 4. This is going to be a vertical line that continues on and on. And the equation for this line, if you name your baby, is x equals 1. Okay, that's all it is. It's just a vertical line. All right, I'm gonna have to go back and do that one in class. That's a fun one. All right. Graphing two equations and determining whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so we need to have a conversation before we can even get into this, as far as how the heck are we going to know if the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So I'm going to do a little spiel before we get into this one and say that if you're given two lines, you have to find the slopes of both of those lines. And then when you do that, you need to compare them. And if the slopes are the same, if their slopes are equal, okay, that is parallel lines. They are parallel lines. All right. If the slopes are a negative reciprocal, and that's perpendicular. Perpendicular. All right. If it's neither one of those, then the answer is neither. Okay. Slopes are equal, parallel. Be nice if I could spell parallel. Again, I'm not an English person, but I should still know how to spell parallel. And then slopes are negative reciprocal, which are perpendicular. What does that mean? Well, that means if you get a slope of 3 and a slope of -1/3, that is negative reciprocals. Okay, that means the signs change from positive to negative or negative to positive, and then fractional form, flip them. It's reciprocal. All right. So graph the equations of the given lines and state whether they are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Oh, so they just went through and graphed them. Well, that's not as much fun. I want to go through and do what we did in class and actually solve for them. So all I'm going to do is take 3y equals -4x plus 3 and 3x minus 4y equals 8. And I'm just going to solve for y for both of them. So divide by 3 for this one. Y equals -4/3 x plus 1. The only thing I care about here is this bad boy right there. And the other one, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. I get -4y minus equals -3x plus 8. Divide both sides by -4. And I get y is equal to 3/4 x minus 2 is what I want to write. There we go. Doesn't really matter. Again, this is all I really care about. So one of them is -4/3. All right. And the other one is the negative reciprocal. So these are perpendicular, but we can draw them as well. So perpendicular. All right, let's do a little quick graphing of them. I could do this on Desmos, but I think I can push these out pretty fast. So the way I like to do this is I just find my y-intercept, put a point, and then from there, I need to draw some little hash lines here. All right, from that point, I go down 4 and over 3 because it's rise over run, but my rise is negative. So from my y-intercept, I go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I always run to the right, and I'm going to run 3. 1, 2, 3, place my point, and there is this, as well as I can get this a straight line. All right, then the next one is just -2 is my y-intercept. And then from my y-intercept, I've got a slope of 3/4. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's pretty darn good. So the last thing I have to do, because it's going to make me crazy if I don't, is name my babies. And y equals 3/4 x minus 2. All right, subdivision here. So that's it. These are perpendicular. You can tell they look pretty perpendicular, even with it being freehand drawn. But you also now have learned the other way. All right, 15. Writing the equation of a line parallel to a given line passing through a given point. Alrighty, well, we have a line here, so we need to find out what the slope is of it, so that we can make the new line that we create with our point slope formula parallel. And that means that the slopes have to be exactly the same. And we're going to use this point to do our line that we're going to create, x1, y1. All right, start by solving this little thing for y and finding out what our slope is. So 5x plus 3y is equal to 1. Subtract 5x from both sides. We get 3y is equal to negative 5x plus 1. And then just divide everything by 3. Y equals negative 5 thirds x plus 1/3. All I care about is this little critter right here. Okay. I'm going to come down here and go y minus y sub 1 equals mx minus x sub 1. I'm going to take my negative 5/3 and substitute it for the m that I have here. And I'm going to use 3, 5 as my x1 and my y1. So I've got y minus the 5 is equal to negative 5/3 x minus the 3. Okay. Let's start by getting rid of this 3 here so that y'all don't have to deal with the fractional form of this. Multiply all your terms by 3. And so multiply. So 3y minus 15 is equal to, 3 is gone. I'm just going to rewrite the negative 5 x minus 3. Distribute that negative 5 over the binomial. We get 3y is equal to 15 equals negative 5x plus 15. And then, does it care what form? Nope, does not. So I'm going to solve for y. Add 15 to both sides. I get 3y is equal to negative 5x plus 30. Divide everything by 3. And y equals negative 5/3 x plus 10. So it should have the same slope as the one we solved over. It does. And this is going to be our parallel line to the line that was given. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Now, 16, we did not get to go over in class, but you still have another class with me before the homework is due. So make sure that, you know, if you don't get a chance to look at this, you at least attempt the homework. And, well, you're not going to see this, so what am I talking to you people for? All right, finding the equation of a line perpendicular to a given line passing through a given point. We're going to do the same stinking thing, but wait a minute. I don't want to stop for that again, because it looks to be the same, but of course it's not. Hate you, OpenStax. I'm just joking. So what we have to do is solve for y on this one again. So 5x minus 3y plus 4, it looks so close, equals 0. Just solving for y. So subtracting 4 from both, subtracting 5x from both. So I'm just going to get rid of the 5x, get rid of the 4. And I get negative 3y is equal to negative 5x minus 4. Divide everything by negative 3. And I get y is equal to 5/3 x plus 4 over 3. Gosh, I think I need to go to bed. All right. So they're giving us a new point. The point is negative 4, 1. That's going to be our x1, y1. We have to use the point slope formula along with this slope in negative reciprocal form to get us our perpendicular line to the one that they've given us. So if we're using 5/3 for their line, our new line is going to have to be m equals negative, since this one's positive, and then 3/5 since this one's 5/3. So between this slope And this point, let's create y minus y sub 1 equals m x minus x sub 1. So we have y minus 1 is equal to negative 3/5, x minus a negative 4. So y minus 1 is equal to negative 3/5, x plus 4. I'm just going ahead and getting that fixed. And now let's multiply all the terms by 5 just to clean this up a little bit. So 5y minus 5 is equal to negative 3, x plus 4. These 5's canceled out. And we get 5y minus 5 is equal to negative 3x minus 12. Solving for y, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And I get 5y is equal to negative 3x minus 7. Divide everything by 5. And y equals negative 3/5 x minus 7/5. Let's make sure that this slope right here is the negative reciprocal of the one that we found, which was 5/3. It should be negative 3/5. It is. So this is our new line that is perpendicular to the one that was given us through the point negative 4, 1. All right, that is the ending for 2.2. I will work on the weekend getting you the 2 point whatever's next. I think it's 6.